Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on the show, Control or Be Controlled, podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Every day we make hundreds of choices: what we buy, what we watch, what we click on, what we believe we need, and what we think will make us happier. But have you ever stopped to ask what those choices reveal about who we are and the lives we are trying to create? Our guest today is a marketing professor, researcher, and writer who studies the deeper meaning behind consumption. His work explores how consumer culture, AI, algorithms, technology, parenting, sustainability, and modern markets influence our identities, relationships, and pursuits of the good life. Rather than looking at consumption as simply buying products, our guest today examines how our choices reveal our values, desires, fears, and aspirations. Today, we will discuss why more doesn't always mean better, how technology shapes our wants, and how we can become more intentional about the lives we build. Our guest today is Dr. Tejvir Sekhon. Dr. Tejvir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, Dr. Tej, as you said, you would like to be called, right, Dr. Tej?
Yep.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that introduction.
Yep. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so I have some questions here for you,
Sure.
and I'd like us to get into it. So tell us about your journey. What led you to study consumer behavior and the deeper meaning behind what people buy?
Sure. So my undergraduate degree was in computer science. So growing up, I had a very practical approach to career. I wanted a job that pays well. So, and I enjoyed computer science, but it was a little too dry for my taste. There wasn't much human component to it. And then I started thinking, what else can I do that is financially viable, but also allows me to explore my curiosities, right? Which was human nature broadly. So I decided to pursue my MBA in marketing. And after that, I worked in industry in the role of a brand manager. And again, I was having fun, but it was my boss who was deciding the problem on which I spend my days. Right? So I was interested in pursuing my own interests, my own curiosities, which is in general, I think, a good approach to finding your calling in life, just pursuing your curiosities. And that led me to pursue a PhD in marketing focused on consumer psychology. Right? And I started teaching marketing to my students, but as a consumer myself, as a parent who is constantly navigating this increasingly complex world of consumption, I like to say that the job description of a consumer keeps on increasing. So we are supposed to buy things, to have fun, to meet our needs, but then also to do the right thing, to take care of the environment, to think of our long-term goals. So it just keeps on expanding what we expect consumers to do. And that led me to this project where I have started writing these short, poetic reflections on consumption as a window to modern life.
Okay, so many people might not understand what you are saying, that consumption can actually talk about a human's behavior and have deeper meaning. So you said that consumption is about more than products and prices. So what do the things we buy reveal about the lives we are trying to build?
Sure. So all consumption serves a practical need, but I think more importantly, it also serves a psychological need. Right? It turns out like the question, what is a good life, was the domain of philosophy. But now people are looking at consumption and consumer products to answer big life questions. For instance, am I a good parent? Am I successful enough? Am I taking good care of my health? Right. Um, how much aging is okay? Right. Is my life meaningful? Right. Think about that question. Right. We used to extract meaning out of things like religion or our work or our relationships or our neighborhood and community. But as people don't live in the places they grew up in, as they work from home remotely and don't interact with colleagues as much, as people are becoming less religious, right? As our close relationships are fraying, people are looking at consumption for this big need, which is how to make meaningful lives and how to live meaningful lives. And marketplace is always ready to not to answer those questions, but to attach a product to those questions. Are you feeling anxious about parenting? Here is a parenting course. Are you feeling anxious about AI? Here is how you can improve your credentials. Are you feeling anxious about aging? Here is the next treatment that you can go for, right? But do the questions go away after we buy that product? No, right? They move on to the next product because the questions still remain, right? And that requires reflection.
Okay, so why do people often believe that buying something new will make them happier, yet that happiness fades away quickly?
Sure. So I think there are a few reasons for that. Right? One, we are so bad at estimating how long the happiness from a product, how long lasting the happiness from a product would be. So we buy something and then we quickly get used to it and then we search for the next thing. Secondly, it's a common human tendency to compare ourselves with others. But now the points of reference are so many and so constant, right? On social media, you can constantly compare yourselves to somebody's career, somebody's relationship, somebody's house, somebody's children, right? So it's a never-ending stream of social comparison. And then after you are in that state where you are constantly looking for improvement to your quality of life, you're constantly comparing yourself, the digital environment is pretty good at offering you a product as a solution to those, right? And you buy that product, but does the comparison stop? No, right? Do you stop caring about, or do you stop worrying about things like aging or parenting or AI? No, right? And in some ways, the constant personalized messages that you get on social media is about how you can optimize a little more, how you can achieve a little more, how you can be a little better, right? And when you are in that state of anxiety or aspirational state, quickly a product pops up on your screen and you are like, okay, only if I buy this product, it'll solve all my problems. Okay? But then we are bad at asking, did the product really solve that psychological problem? It might be a perfectly good thing to solve that practical problem, but did it solve that psychological problem that you wanted it to solve? Right? Have you stopped worrying, right, about the things that you were worried about? Right? So I think those are the three main reasons, right? So we get adapted to things, we compare ourselves constantly, and then the marketplace is really good at attaching things to bigger questions of life for which maybe buying is not the right solution.
So, what then is the right solution?
So I think there is no one definition of good life, right? It has to be your own personal definition. But the trap that we have to avoid is thinking that marketplace can solve that question for us, right? It requires a lot of reflection, and reflection requires time and attention. Right? But we get so little time and attention in our day in today's digital environment to reflect on those questions, right? And the distance between wanting or feeling mildly uncomfortable with a question, right? For example, am I successful enough, right? Or do I need to worry about AI, right? The distance between that anxiety, or even attention, me paying attention to that question, right? And me seeing a product-based solution, right? The distance between them has compressed. Right? So what we need to do is we need to take a pause, right? Between noticing and wanting, right? I noticed an aging video, I paid a little bit more attention to it, and suddenly I start seeing more of those. Or I noticed an AI video and suddenly I start getting a lot of those, right? So if we pause between the noticing and the wanting, and then between the wanting and the buying, right? That pause can help us reflect. And maybe consumption is the right solution. Maybe we need to buy differently. Maybe we can buy cheaper. Maybe we can buy secondhand. Or maybe we just need to have a conversation with a friend about AI or about parenting, right? Maybe we just need some advice, right? Or maybe we don't need to do anything. Sometimes you are just aging. That's human condition. You don't need to solve every problem, right? So I think that pause and getting that pause and striving for that pause is really important.
Okay, thank you so much, Tej. So many people feel a conflict between their values and their purchasing habits. Why does that tension exist?
Sure. That's a really important question. So again, as I said, the job description of a consumer is increasing, right? I go out to buy eggs, but then I have to think about, are these free range? Were the animals treated properly? Right? What were the labor conditions? Right? But then I also have 2 kids. I have a full-time job, right? So I have a budget, right? So it's not that our individual choices don't matter, but our individual choices can't solve the structural issues, right? Those are much bigger issues, which would require maybe some regulation, maybe some efforts from the companies themselves, right? But when consumers take on all of that burden, right, and put that burden onto their shopping carts when they are also dealing with convenience and habit and cost constraints and time constraints, it's not that we are being hypocritical. It's just that we are making trade-offs. We are making trade-offs in a very complex, complicated environment. We still make active choices, but somebody else designed the environment where we are making choices, right? And we all have limited resources, particularly time and attention and money, right? And we have to make trade-offs. But because we, as consumers, we expect to solve those problems, and we are trained by culture that we have to vote with our wallet, right? Somewhere we feel guilty, right, when we don't reach those standards, right? I study sustainability, and I find myself searching or filtering stuff in terms of price low to high, in spite of all of my stated values, right? That doesn't mean we are failing as consumers. It just means that we are being asked to do too much.
Okay, so are we becoming better at making choices because of technology, or are algorithms quietly making more decisions for us?
No, technology is definitely helpful, right? Technology has made our lives a lot easier, right? But I think the issue arises when, instead of marketplace interrupting us with a commercial message, it creates this entire environment. Our entire digital environment is sometimes crafted to get us to notice these consumption products or notice others' lives, right? To compare ourselves with them, and then buy the next product, right? So it's the continuous nature of that. So it's not that I'm watching TV and I see an ad and then the ad ends, right? If the ad is never ending, if the billboard never ends, right? If it's baked into the environment and it's dynamic, it notices when you pause on something, right? Uh, like I might be sitting and perfectly fine with how my kitchen looks, but then the system notices that I paused a little bit more on somebody else's house video, right? And then it starts serving me those videos of more updated kitchens, and suddenly my kitchen starts looking less updated to me, right? So it's the personalized nature of that, it's the continuous learning, dynamic nature of that, right? It's the never-ending nature of the digital environments, right? That uh, makes our consumption decisions. I wouldn't say it makes the consumption decisions harder, right? It makes consumption decisions a lot easier, but it prevents us from asking the question whether consuming this way helps me achieve my version of the good life, right? So it helps us climb the ladder faster, but is the ladder uh, leaning onto the right wall, right? We don't know, and we never get the time and the attention to answer that question.
What do you mean by we don't have the time to answer that question?
Because there is no pause, right? We are constantly bombarded uh, in our attention and environment, right? For example, think of anti-aging, right? So at 40, I was never worried about aging, and aging is a normal part of life. But I paused a little bit more on an anti-aging video, and then I started getting more anti-aging videos, and then I started getting more content from longevity influencers, and suddenly now I'm worried about aging, right? So was aging something that I was particularly worried about in terms of creating my version of the good life? No, not really, right? But now I am, right? So that pause where you can reflect and say, okay, is my money, my time, my attention going towards my version of good life? Or am I just going from one rabbit hole to the next rabbit hole based on what my attentional environment is serving me? Right? So does that answer your question? Or
Okay, yeah, sure. So, how do markets influence our ideas of beauty, success, and what it means to live a good life?
Sure. So I don't think so. It's through one like dramatic act of manipulation or anything, right? It's through these constant messages, and the messages that could keep on changing with culture, right? For example, what does success mean, right? So we might have an idea of what success means, right? But then success could mean having a big house, having a good car. It could mean working really hard, being really busy, or it could mean having time to relax and traveling the world, right? So if somebody wants to sell a car, they would say, okay, your car shows you're successful, right? If somebody wants to sell a watch, they'll say, okay, your watch says you're successful. If somebody needs to sell a mattress, they say, yeah, real success lies not having to hustle all the time, right? Having a good night's sleep, right? So maybe you need to upgrade your mattress to be this really fancy mattress, and that shows you're successful, right? Or maybe success is how much you work during the day, right? So maybe your laptop, right, your productivity devices, right, shows how successful you are, right? How much you can hustle. So again, it's easier to sell products when you link it to higher order aspirations and hopes and anxieties a person has, right? But then in order to do that, you need to define what those higher order goals look like. What if somebody's worried about beauty? What does beauty look like? If somebody cares about success, what does success look like? If somebody cares about sustainability, what does sustainability look like, right? If somebody cares about health, what does health look like? And suddenly you will see that there are these pendulums that swing in extreme directions. Like today, health means protein, right? Everybody's talking about protein, right? And then suddenly the pendulum would move to some other direction, right? So those definitions of those really important constructs in life, right? We used to get those definitions from things like religion or philosophy, but now marketplace and consumer culture is very good in terms of defining them in a way that helps them sell that next product.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Tej. So you write reflections that turn ordinary moments into deeper observations about life. Why did a marketing professor begin writing in this way?
Sure. So I think it was mostly because academic research and ordinary life moves at different paces, right? So I would work for years on a paper, and then maybe 10, 15 people in the world would read that, right? And then I would look at my life as a consumer and how I make decisions and all the pressures of parenting and being a consumer. And I started realizing that I need to do more to disseminate those ideas, right? And I was also hitting a wall with this idea that our attention spans are constantly declining, and how do you cut through the complexity, right, in a world where attention spans are increasingly declining. So then I looked at how poetry has been used in cultures, right, to communicate really complex ideas in simple ways, but also in very emotionally resonating ways. So I decided that I'm going to write these very short poetic reflections that are not going to ask readers much, right, but they'll communicate this complex idea about consumption and about realizing this gap between the lives we want to live and the lives we are actually living, right? So not to judge that gap, but to highlight that gap and make that gap more visible. Right? So I decided to use poetry as a modality, really short, bite-sized reflections that don't ask much, but maybe help people see everyday consumption moments in a new light. So that's my aim with this project.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Tej. So if someone wants to live a more intentional life in a world designed to encourage constant consumption, where should they begin?
I think they should begin with that pause, right? If they want to buy something, right, they should ask why. Is it because of a practical need, or is it because of psychological need, right? Do they hope to be a better parent, a more successful person, a healthier person, right? And once they buy it, would they stop worrying about those things, right? So that's the first step. Like, why am I buying this? The second is asking why now, right? Did something happen in my attentional environment? Did I see something on my social media, right? If nobody can see me using this product, would I still buy it, right? And the third question that we need to ask is, what else is this product asking me, right? I'll be paying with my time, with my money, but would it also ask me for more time? Would it require more time to maintain it, to worry about it, to learn how to use it? Could I use that time to do something else, to pursue a hobby, right? To work less if I don't spend my money there. Okay. So asking those questions, I think, gives you a pause, right? And once you have that pause, right, you can decide how to choose, right? You might as well answer those questions and say, okay, sure, I need to buy that product. Go ahead and buy that product, right? We all need to consume, right? Or maybe I can buy it cheaper elsewhere, right? Or maybe I'm asking the product to solve a problem that's much bigger than a practical problem, right? For that, maybe I need to read a book about parenting, right? Maybe it's the problem just requires more time and attention on my part rather than a quick fix solution from the marketplace. Right? So I think, yes, that having that pause and approaching that desire with curiosity, not with guilt, but with curiosity. Why do I have that desire at this particular moment? Can go a long way in being helping us be an intentional consumer.
All right, Tej. So, is there a question you wish I would have asked you that I have not asked you?
No, I think this has been wonderful. I think we delved in a lot of depth to the questions that I wanted to chat about. So, yeah, nothing comes to mind.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Tej. So, for those who like to connect with you and learn more about what you do, how can they do that?
Sure. So if any of this resonated with you, I write again very frequently on these on the issues of consumption and modern life. You can find those on my Instagram, tejvir.sekhon. My Facebook also has the same handle, tejvir.sekhon. My website is tejvirsekhon.ca. And my LinkedIn is Tejvir Sekhon. Right? So I write on all of those 4 places, Instagram, Facebook, my own website, Tejvir Sekhon, and then on LinkedIn. And happy to continue this conversation.
All right, thank you so much for helping us look at every choices through a different lens. Our purchases, habits, and interactions with technology are not just random decisions. They often reflect deeper beliefs about identity, security, success, and the future we want to create. For everyone listening, the goal isn't simply to buy less or reject modern life. It's to become more aware of the forces influencing our choices so we can decide what truly aligns with the life we want to build. Thank you for listening to Control or Be Controlled on this very episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share this conversation with someone who wants to live with more intention. Until next time, stay aware, stay intentional, and take control before life controls you. I will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you, Tej. Bye, guys.
Thank you.